So the food tracking itself is just a tool. And like any other tool, it can be used to help or to harm based on your intentions. But when you have good intentions and a reasonable goal that you're working towards, it can be very helpful. Hey there, welcome to the Coaching Corner podcast. I'm Jade Harrison, certified personal trainer, and I help people to get strong and lean without shame and without burnout. In today's episode, we're going to go over common myths and misconceptions around tracking your food. Food tracking is a practice that a lot of people use whenever they're trying to make some kind of a change to their diet, whether that is they're trying to lose weight or gain muscle or just eat better. It can be a very helpful practice, but there are a lot of misconceptions around food tracking that we'll clear up in the episode. And before we get into the episode, make sure to like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel so you always get the latest videos. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you follow the channel so that you always get the latest episodes delivered to your device. And consider checking out my website for more information on my coaching programs and services. Right now, I am enrolling new clients to my Fat Loss Transformation Program, which is a 90-day program to get you on track towards losing weight and keeping it off for good. In this program, I'll give you a customized meal plan as well as a custom training program designed for your fitness level and whatever equipment you have access to. By the end of this program, you will be well on your way towards achieving your fat loss goals and keeping that fat off for good. So for more information on that, check out the link that's in the video description below if you're watching on YouTube, or check out the link in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. So first off, let's talk about what food tracking is. Food tracking is the practice of either writing down or plugging into a tracking app what you eat throughout the day. There's different ways to go about tracking. There's different goals that people might have in mind when it comes to monitoring what they're eating, but they all involve some variation of logging or recording whatever they eat and drink. And they might be doing this so that they can develop some self-awareness of the foods that they're eating. They might be doing this in order to become mindful of how many calories are in their food or how much protein they're eating. Some people might do it as just like an extension of their journaling practice, because some people enjoy writing down what they do every day. When you're trying to make some kind of a change to your diet, it can be helpful to write down what you're eating and keeping an eye on the nutrition content of your food to ensure that you're reaching a certain goal. So some people who are trying to really maximize their protein intake, for example, might track their food in order to make sure that they're getting in enough protein at each meal and in every snack. So there's many different ways of doing food tracking toward different goals. Now, one misconception that a lot of people have about food tracking is that only people with eating disorders track their food. And this is simply not true. While many people who do have eating disorders use tracking as part of their unhealthy relationship with food, food tracking is used by athletes, fitness enthusiasts, and normal, healthy people because it's a very powerful tool for staying mindful and aware of what you're eating. And it can also be very helpful whenever you're trying to eat towards a specific goal. People with eating disorders oftentimes have a distorted goal in mind that they use food tracking to reach, which can be unhealthy and harmful. But when you have a healthy and realistic goal toward your food and toward your diet, tracking can be very helpful and powerful for helping you to reach that goal. Many people are able to use food tracking while maintaining a healthy relationship with food and with their bodies. And also, there are plenty of people who have eating disorders who don't track their food. So the food tracking itself is just a tool. And like any other tool, it can be used to help or to harm based on your intentions. But when you have good intentions and a reasonable goal that you're working towards, it can be very helpful. Another misconception that a lot of people have is that if they start tracking their food, they will become obsessive over their food. Now, this may be the case for a lot of people who have a tendency to become obsessive, especially whenever they try new things. But again, this has to do more with the mindset that you carry with you into the tracking as a practice. The tracking itself is not what makes you obsessive, it's your mindset and your mental state which cause you to be obsessive. And that same mindset and mental state can make you obsessive over many other things, including tracking, but also tracking your body weight, tracking your measurements. When you are bringing with you into the practice an unhealthy relationship with your body and a mindset that is restrictive and punishing, then that's going to come out in whatever tool it is that you're using to help yourself to get healthy or reach your fitness goals. And finally, another myth is that tracking is too restrictive. This is just another misconception because tracking is a tool that not only can be used for helping you to stay within a calorie deficit. Many people who are in a bulk where they're trying to eat a calorie surplus use calorie tracking to make sure that they're reaching their daily calorie goals of eating more food. You can also use food tracking to make sure that you're eating enough protein or getting enough vegetables. Right now, I'm tracking my food because I'm trying to make sure that I reach a daily goal of soluble fiber. Of course, I'm trying to stay within a certain calorie range, but the main goal that I'm tracking for is to ensure that I'm getting enough fiber for my digestive tract to be healthy. And tracking is a way that helps me to eat more of the foods that I need to reach that goal. So it's not about restriction, it's more about staying accountable and making sure that you're staying on track towards whatever goal it is that you have in your nutrition. Now, the way that I coach my clients, there's two main ways that we use tracking. One is to just get a sense of what your current eating habits are. This is the style of tracking that I use at the beginning of my programs with new clients in a process that I call the snapshot. The snapshot is where we create a record of what your starting point is in your fitness and in your nutrition. Many people aren't really aware of what they're eating throughout the day. Lots of people just eat when they feel hungry and they don't pay a whole lot of attention to the food choices that they make. Now, this can lead to not eating enough of certain nutrients that your body needs, like protein or fiber. But if you're also not aware of the calorie content of the food that you're eating, you may be eating more energy than your body needs without realizing it. And if you're trying to burn fat by exercising, but you're not having a lot of success, getting a snapshot of what your calorie intake is can help you to identify what foods may be setting you back. And just building some awareness around your food choices can help you to identify the things that need to change. So the purpose of the snapshot is to get an honest picture of what your diet looks like and what your food habits are. Because if you're trying to make any kind of changes, you need to know what you're working with to start out. Because a lot of people think that in order to get healthy and lose weight, they have to overhaul their entire lifestyle and their entire diet. But often when people do a snapshot and they just figure out what they're eating, they can identify just one or two things that need to be swapped out or maybe substituted with other things or maybe reduced in order to reach their calorie goals without having to overhaul their entire diet. So it can be a really helpful tool for that. So developing self-awareness around what you're eating is the first way that you can use tracking. I recommend this for people who are just starting out on their fitness journey, or if they know that they want to make some changes to their diet and they're not sure what they should do, starting out with creating a snapshot of 3 to 7 days, tracking everything that you eat and drink, not changing anything, just getting a record of what your diet looks like can be very helpful. Remember, awareness is powerful, and it is often the first step towards making meaningful change. The second way to use tracking is a goal-oriented approach to tracking, where you have a specific goal in mind of how much of a certain nutrient or calories you want to eat or food group that you want to eat. And you track what you eat and drink throughout the day to make sure that you're staying within that goal. In practice, this looks a little bit different from how you track when you're doing a snapshot. When you're doing the snapshot, you're not actually changing anything about what you're eating. You're just making a record, right? When you are in the phase of goal-oriented tracking, I recommend plugging in or writing down whatever you plan to eat before you eat it to make sure that whatever it is that you're about to eat fits within your goals. And if not, you can make adjustments to how much of the protein that you're eating or to the serving size or swapping out certain parts of the meal to make sure you're staying within your goals. So whereas the snapshot is more about recording what you eat after the fact, goal-oriented tracking is more about planning what you're going to eat so that it stays within your goals. This helps to keep you accountable and on track following your plan. And it gives you the opportunity to make adjustments when you need to. Now, a lot of people will use this goal-oriented tracking in combination with meal planning and meal prep, where they go ahead and decide what they're going to eat ahead of time, sometimes days or even a week ahead of time. And they might even go ahead and prepare it after plugging in what they plan on eating to their tracking journal or to their app. This is the style of tracking that my clients use most of the time after we have completed the first initial snapshot in the first couple of weeks of working with me. Because by that point, they're working toward a specific goal that will help them to burn fat or build muscle or just eat better. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that tracking is not something that most people do all of the time. I generally recommend tracking what you eat and drink only when you're trying to make changes. But oftentimes what happens after you have been tracking your food for an extended period of time, you start to get a good intuitive sense of how many calories and how many macronutrients are in the foods that you like to eat. So you can often get to the point where you eat intuitively within your goals without having to track. And this is a really good place to be for just establishing and maintaining a healthy, fit lifestyle. I don't track all of the time. I only track when I'm specifically trying to change something. I noticed a couple months ago that I wasn't eating enough dietary fiber. And so now I'm tracking and being more mindful of how much dietary fiber is in the foods that I'm eating so that I can make that adjustment. And as I've gotten into the routine of eating the types of foods that give my body more fiber, I'm able to step back more and more away from tracking and use it less. So in my coaching and in my own lifestyle, intuitive eating is the goal. But tracking is an important step toward reaching that goal. So if you want to start using tracking to help yourself to eat better and reach your goals, I highly recommend it. But if you do have a tendency toward being obsessive, or if you have a history of disordered eating or a disordered relationship with food or with your body, I recommend working with a coach, a registered dietitian, or a therapist to help you to find what tools work best for you and to work on your mindset toward your body and toward food so that you can have a healthier relationship. Now, if you're going to be using tracking to help yourself to develop more self-awareness or to stay within a specific goal, there are a couple of mistakes I want you to avoid. Number one, avoid waiting until the end of the day to log everything that you eat and drink. If you are in the phase of tracking toward a specific goal, if you wait until the end of the day, oftentimes you'll find that it's not uncommon to make mistakes of overshooting your calories and not even realizing it. So make sure that you're tracking as you go or use food tracking to plan what you're going to eat. Another mistake that a lot of people make is they skip the measurements. It's so easy to overshoot your calories because you end up putting more food on the plate than you realize, which means that you have more calories. You may also not realize that you're not getting enough protein or not getting enough of some other nutrient because you're just eyeballing it rather than measuring it. So weighing your food or using some measuring spoons or measuring cups is a great way to make sure that you are indeed reaching your goals. Another mistake that I want you to avoid is aiming for perfection. Your body does not need you to be 100% perfect to reach your goals. In fact, if you just stick to your goals a majority of the time, then that's what your body is going to reflect. So if you have a few days or a few meals here and there where you overshoot your calories or you don't quite reach your protein goal, that's totally fine. Remember that your body is going to reflect what you do most of the time, okay? So a weekend off here and there is not going to harm your overall progress. And another mistake that a lot of people make is only focusing on calories, especially when they're in a fat loss phase. Your body needs a certain amount of macronutrients That is protein, carbohydrates, and fats, as well as micronutrients like vitamins and minerals to stay healthy, especially if you're in a fat loss phase. So I recommend using tracking to look at more than just your calories and make sure that you're eating enough protein, carbohydrates, fats, and vitamins and minerals. And if you're not sure how much of these things that you need to be eating, working with a coach like me or with a registered dietitian is a great way to start. If you are going to be using tracking, make sure that you are using it with the right mindset. We want to approach tracking and whatever other tools that we're using to help improve our health and our fitness with a growth mindset that prioritizes learning and growing and allows for mistakes to happen. Try not to judge yourself too harshly or beat yourself up or hop on that shame spiral. Give yourself room to grow and to learn. And remember that your food log is a guide, not a scorecard. The amount of calories or macronutrients that you eat doesn't mean that you pass or fail, that you're good or bad. This is a tool that can help you to work towards reaching your goals and maintain the self-awareness that you need to stay within your goals. And remember, you do not have to track forever. It's a short-term thing that we do when we're trying to make adjustments to our diet. So I hope that this clears up some of those misconceptions that you might have had around food tracking. Now, if you are interested in learning more about how to eat better and use tools like tracking in a way that's responsible and healthy, check out my Healthy Diet Makeover coaching program. In this 6-week program, I'll give you an introduction to the strategies that people use to eat better and maintain a healthy diet for their fitness lifestyle. You can find more information on that and my other coaching programs on my website. That's jdgains.com, JAYDIGAINS.com. I am now enrolling clients into the Healthy Diet Makeover program as well as my Fat Loss Transformation program. So you can find more information on those on my website and in the links below this video if you're watching on YouTube or in the show notes. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Coaching Corner podcast. Again, I'm Jade Harrison, aka JD Gains, and I hope that you found the information in this episode helpful. Make sure to like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss new videos. And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to follow the show so that you never miss new episodes. I will see you in the next episode. In the meantime, make sure that you're taking good care of yourself. Eat your veggies, eat your protein, drink plenty of water, and I will see you soon.